Welcome to Board Ghost, a story broadcast with games as the engine. We believe you're out there, hungry for stories for shared experiences. We can't see you, can't hear you, yet we will play for you. This night's offering is a continuation of our game of Follow by Ben Robbins, the same designer who brought us Kingdoms and Microscope. We like Ben Robbins.
We sure do.
From Lame Mage Productions.
That is a
LameMage.com.
great name. LameMage.com.
Cool. So, to find out how we generate our story using the game of Follow, go check out our Follow Rules Primer on BoardGhost.com. I'm one of your humble players, John Holt. With me this week,
Ken Breeze.
And D. Gailey.
Yay!
All right, welcome back, D. So we're going to wrap up our tale of the heist. We are
So
living in a
much.
dystopian future where dairy animals are gone.
They're just gone. They are
And
extinct.
They are totally gone, and there is a cult called the Muis who have some sort of like worship for who knows what. They have some connection to the cows. And part of this cult, one of their artifacts is this rare cheese that the cult leader has in their possession.
That's right.
And there are no dairy animals. This is a rare artifact, and
Could serve humanity.
we want it for all sorts of reasons. And our crew of crooks trying to get their hands on it is a new crew newly put together of disparate criminals. People of different backgrounds and different skill levels. Yeah. And so I'll kick it off. My main character is Garth, the hardened criminal. He's trying to get the cheese to discredit the cult leader, and in a way as like a step in deprogramming his daughter. And he wants Felicity, Dee's character, to trust him and see him as more than just the hired goon, the muscle.
And my main character is Felicity. She is an exile from the Mui cults. She left when she was around 20 after being pledged as a young bride to the overseer, and she wants from this heist to get revenge on the cults because she knows that they are complete hypocrites with their hidden stashes of cow cheese while simultaneously pledging and proselytizing to the masses that the only kind of cheese we should have is human cheese. She also horrible. She wants from Ken's character Winston to get him to care about her cause, to care about changing the world and making cheese for the masses.
That's right. And I am playing Winston, the natural. Winston is a natural at a few things we found out, but he is a natural at making cheese, specifically fabricating fake cheese. So he's sort of genetically modifies cheese, clones it, does different things to try and create it. And he really wants to get the recipe, the recipe to create real cheese, or at least create it in a lab. And so he wants to get his hands on this wheel of cheese that the cult of the Moonies have, so they can get a chunk of it and start experimenting on it. He considers himself a cheese artist, a fromager. He wants, though, from John's character, Garth, to be taught how to be a hardened criminal. He sort of gets pushed around a lot by those who are a little bit tougher than him. He's sort of more of a scientist, more of an artist, not such a hardened criminal.
So far, we also have some minor characters, but we'll get into those in a second. So far, we have attempted a break-in, which failed. We got very close, but a betrayal of Boodle the Bomber, Ken's minor character, led to our needing to cheese it.
To get away.
To get away. So that is our current challenge. Where we left things off, we had just finished our last scene of the challenge of trying to get away, where Boodle the Bomber had reappeared in a
battle van,
lobbing explosives as we tried to flee through a field of an abandoned dairy farm.
He's just a mad bomber. What bombs at midnight?
Bomber. That's where we left off. We have Boodle the Bomber, who is a betrayed team minor character. Wally the Kid, who is Winston's younger brother in a tag-along, and
hell
Rat,
of a driver.
Yeah, and Rat the Escapist, who is a rough and tumble escape artist, sort of a gadgetry trickster
Yeah.
guy.
He's got some surprises.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, let's roll right into the resolution
right.
of our challenge.
Our cliffhanger from last week.
If your main character is unhappy about the path the Fellowship has taken, hold 1 red stone. If your main character actually wants the quest to fail, hold 2 red stones. Otherwise, hold no stones.
We're all unhappy.
Everyone's character is unhappy about our current state of affairs. As a player, do you think the Fellowship did what was necessary to succeed at the challenge? Hold white if yes, red if no.
Yay!
Oh, so everyone believes we did what we needed to do. So I think that's a pretty even
That's
pool.
pretty even pool. It's in
All right.
fact
So
exactly
can you
even.
draw the first stone?
I shall proceed and continue to rock the mic.
It's a red. Okay, that's a red red first, followed by
A
white.
white.
Okay, so lose 1 character, but win the challenge.
Hey!
Mm.
So this is not a betrayal. They are
Yeah.
lost to the Fellowship. Well, so let's before we get into like who gets whatted. Well, how did we succeed in the getaway? Do you think?
We succeeded in the getaway by
Well, it's
a miraculous save. That miraculous save, I think, has to do with one of our minor characters, and one of them.
how about this? That whole like plan of like throwing the thing under the thing.
Oh yeah.
That like goes awry.
Okay.
So that and again we can go back and revise this, but this is my pitch, right?
Mhm.
So Winston tossed this thing
Mm-hmm.
as Felicity and Garth rolled and were kind of like concussed by an explosion,
Mm-hmm.
and the crystal tree went towards the thing and grew up right under it and flipped it, but it landed upright and started to like turn back on us.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's when like Wally broke away from the rat
Yeah.
and came running and revealed his own packet of the stuff,
Yeah.
And throws it, and it gets hit by a shell right at the same time. And it's actually like a blossom of this
Right,
crystal in the
right.
air.
And it sort of explodes
And
both ways.
it just like the tank, it's like through the fire, it actually grows inside the tank, like it's riding the contrail of smoke and fire, and then you just see it blossom inside the tank. These
and just
crystal
all these
spikes
crystal spikes everywhere.
with like
these
a
tines.
Boodle's eyeball on it, or whatever. But then you look over, like you kind of pan from that wreckage, and you see like
Yeah.
suspended in the air by just all these crystalline spikes is Wally.
As well.
Just run right through.
Brutal.
Is that, do you guys,
I
does
love
that
it.
sound good?
I love it. Yeah. Wally's dead.
Poor Wally.
Poor Wally. Killed by crystal spikes.
That's it. We've gotten away.
We did.
And to that end, Boodle
There's no more.
Boodle's toast, and he was actually like busted away from the Mooies
That's right.
to
find us.
Yeah.
Because he
for his
knew
betrayal.
that this was maybe one of the last safe houses.
Yeah, somehow he
That
found out about
Felicity-
it.
Yeah. I mean, you guys ran in the same revolutionary circles, so maybe he knew about it.
He just had to
somehow.
make a similar call.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
hey, I got separated.
Yeah.
Help me
Mhm.
out.
All right, Felicity, you get to choose the final challenge.
Have a final challenge. So if this is the third challenge, you're establishing the final task that after everything that has happened, we must complete to finish the quest.
Getting someone on the inside would allow us to get rid of some of the security to allow us to break in, get rid of evidence, or fence the goods. We don't actually have to describe like how we actually get
No,
the cheese.
of course
like
not.
we could just have
We
the
could
cheese.
just have it now, of course.
All right. So what is that, like destroy the evidence
Or fence the goods.
Yeah, fencing the goods, whatever that means, because everyone has a different goal for what's going to
Mhm.
happen to this cheese.
It's true. So fencing the goods. So we have been able to get our hands finally on this wheel of cheese.
Yeah. So
It was a difficult heist.
we got it somehow.
But
and
we got
can
it.
Kind of describe it. So we have to fence the goods. What are the complications? So I guess the assumption would be that somehow,
We got it.
yeah, like
We
you were
got it.
saying, they were moving it, and we
We got it.
we intercepted.
Yeah, we intercepted
it en route.
We incepted it and intercepted it.
So that was like we got out of the woods, figured out where they were moving
Where
it
they're
to.
moving it to.
And instead of having to get it in a
Well,
compound,
we searched Boodle's van and found his mic, or his walkie-talkie or whatever.
or it was like, yeah, it was actually like one of the security tanks for the group.
Yeah, exactly.
And we used its hard drive to
Yeah,
get some radio codes, and we monitored their thing and like we got basically an encryption, and we're able to shadow run around.
Shadowrun.
We got to we shadow run.
We shadow run.
We swordfished that. So so we somehow succeeded in getting it with actually probably less hassle
Yeah,
than our initial
because we
plan.
got them to move it, so it's even less secured.
Right, and then we knew how and when.
It's our
we
plan
needed
the
it.
whole time.
So what is holding us up? What are the challenges?
Again, like we said, everyone has a different goal for the cheese. Some people want to use it to synthesize strains of cheese. Some people want to separate it and give it out to the masses. Some people maybe just want to sell it and get money. So the challenge is who's actually going to get it, who's going to take control
Right.
of the cheese.
And is there a challenge in terms of like facilities that we would do any one of those things in?
Sure, like financial resources.
Or just, hey, going into a lab and mass producing this faux genetic cheese is going to take a whole operation and backers, and it's going to take like more jobs and more heists, or that just is more people whose eyes are on it that could be cultists. Like any number of things. So what are you feeling?
Also, I mean, I think that the cultists are trying to get it back.
They have their eyes out.
Yes.
Reward.
Like we were able to steal it, but now they want to get it back whole. We're actively being hunted by the cultists and their police, as well as civilian police too.
Do you think it might be difficult for us to find this fence, or to find someone to fence the goods to?
I don't think so. I don't think that would be hard. I think lots of people would want to get it.
Maybe it's
Okay.
hard. Maybe it's like to your question, like it's harder to find, like I was saying, facilities
Yeah.
to mass produce this thing covertly,
Yeah.
which is kind of in the same vein.
Well, and I think that that's a challenge too. Is just the creation of whatever we're going to do, like the actual science of it or the production of it itself.
Mm-hmm.
So how long is this going to take, do you guys feel? What's the pace? Years.
Hopefully not.
Decades.
Maybe a week.
Yeah.
A week.
Millennia.
I don't know. Yeah, I kind of like the large number of years actually.
That it takes years to do this.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah,
like
sure.
because
Sure.
then the scenes can take place like anywhere within that time.
That's true. Yeah, it is. Okay.
So
I'm
maybe
down with
like
that.
10 years.
Cool.
Not
Takes
not in a
Yeah. Like a decade.
Takes a good
Yeah.
decade because you have to I mean, basically
To get to the
you're
point where you're-
cloning
Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah.
thing that you then need to age
Yep.
and
Yep.
even like false aging this ancient cheese. It's
And
And
gonna
maybe
take time.
cloning also, like maybe it's possible to get like DNA
That's right. Yeah.
from
Exactly.
this cheese to be able to reproduce the animals that have since gone
Oh my
extinct.
God! It's all
Yeah,
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the things.
Mm-hmm.
So
then,
science is a challenge for
Yeah.
us.
yeah.
Making pure moomins.
Yeah. I will perfect my moomins,
the
and they
then-
shall rule the moon.
moom. Ken, you are up.
I think it's the three of us that we are there, and we are arguing.
How far along are we in?
This is very early. This is
Mhm.
probably in
we got the
fir-
cheese.
Yeah, this is in the first few months, basically, after the cheese has been gotten.
Mm-hmm.
Once it got, and we're arguing about what the hell to do with this thing. Like, what are we gonna do with it? What are we gonna do with it? Yeah, so the three of us are there: Felicity and Garth. Winston, I think that we are in our safe house. Another one,
Mm-hmm. An actually
the
safe
actual
house.
safe house.
And there's just like a giant table with this big.
Yeah, and we're all
Real
just looking at it
cheese.
and smelling it, and I just want to cut a piece off. Is that okay?
It would probably be okay to just have a little, right? I mean,
No, look. We need to do a full scan of this thing.
well, of course, absolutely. I mean, Winston, just think of the possibilities with the technology that of your synthesis of hybrid and synthetic cheeses, like if you were to apply that technology to the DNA and the synthesis of this cheese, like
We could
think of what we
monopolize
could
the
do.
market.
Well,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, like
That's good.
we
You're going the
could
right way there.
we could give this cheese to everyone.
What?
All of the children who grew up having to suckle from their parents' teats until they were mutant teats. It's they could have dairy cheese again.
I I'm look here. This is where I'm at. If we're gonna cut a piece of this off, we're sending it to Reverend Moo, and we're gonna say to the good leader that if he wants to see his cheese again, he'll send us X bars of bouillon and a few other things that I think would be important to get our hands on.
I don't want to have anything to do with that monster. No. Like, there's no way that he is getting his hands on this cheese again.
It's just cheese. It's not going to change the world. Listen,
Revenge is important, though, and I hear where Garth's coming from.
How can you say that this cheese is not going to change the world? We have been living without dairy animals, without the sweet lactose that is part of this cheese, and we have a chance to be
Whoa,
able to give
easy
that.
with the lactose talk. You're starting to sound like one of those crazies.
listen
No.
here.
No.
I haven't talked to you guys about this yet, but I'm an intolerant.
I'm so sorry.
It's a difficult road. I didn't know.
But
I didn't pass down
I'm
to your.
telling you that I don't know. I think the best thing to do here is just use this thing as the hostage that it is. This thing is worth its weight in gold. And you know what? It's not going to be near as gruesome as cutting off a toe to send a piece of this stuff over to the good Reverend Moo.
You've done that?
I mean, not with cheese.
Look, this was my idea. This was my knowledge that got us into this place.
Right, but this is going to be our cut. This is our necks on the line.
Mm-hmm.
But our discussion
And
of
it's my creativity that will take us to where we need to get to.
Of course, that's absolutely true, Winston. That is why you are part of this also.
Well, how about
because I
this?
knew that you had the capabilities to be able to create something wonderful and beautiful for everyone.
Why don't you take your cut and then give me half that cut, and I'll talk to the good Reverend.
I thought we would cut it up into thirds. There's 3 of us.
No, listen, kid. She's saying you're gonna make whole new wheels of this stuff.
So you're giving
Right.
it all to me except this piece.
No, I'm saying you're gonna get a fine slice that you can get your DNA from, and I'm gonna take a chunk, and then we're gonna get rid of this whole thing if the good Reverend pays up, and then you'll have all the material you need to make another one. Right? I
There's-
mean, you don't need to dissect this whole thing.
I mean, it's experimenting. It's the unknown. You don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work.
We-
I might
we
need
can't-
many samples.
Yeah, we can't take the chance of any of this
But-
not being used for good.
But
for-
I like where you're going. The money would be good. So if we can
We gotta
ransom it.
fund this operation. I mean, where's your seed money gonna come from?
Exactly. And so we'll start creating it for everyone once we get the seed money, and we'll put my face on it and call it Winston's.
But that money is dirty. It's from that awful place. That
You know what?
that
What better
cult-
way to turn that money to good than, I mean, you want to rob the rich and give to the poor. What better way than spreading the cheese?
listen, you don't know.
Let's turn
The
this cheddar
power.
into cheddar.
We have already exposed ourselves to them too much. The power and the influence that these people have, more contact with them, it's too dangerous. You think that you'll be able to just take their money and get away? Like they won't be able to track you or find out where you are after that. They'll just let you spend your money and fade away after that. Like that's insane.
If they want their cheese again, there's certain things we can ask. We can make sure we get safe passage. But, kid, you're gonna have to. Part of that's gonna be scrapping this whole plan, I think.
And I think that's where the scene ends. Unknown. We're like, oh, nothing's resolved. We're trying to fence it. Are we? We don't know. We're fencing it in different ways, trying to fence it to the Mooies, trying to fence it to the masses.
Yeah, so this is a good like 4 or 5 years later.
Yeah.
It's Garth and the rat.
Yeah.
But we've got a facility and we're the security heads of this thing. And Garth is drunk again. He's basically been drunk ever since he sent a piece of the cheese to the leader and got his daughter's head back.
Oh, nice.
Felicity was right.
This whole thing stinks. Worse than the gas I'd get if I ate that stuff.
Boss, I was just coming in here to talk to you. The CEO, he said there was a problem in Sector 15. I don't know what's going on over there.
That brat. All right.
I-
Did you check the monitors?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really see anything. Maybe you want to take a look. Maybe get out of your office and zip up your pants and just take a walk. Let's take a walk, boss. Like, let's get out of here.
So there's like a small alarm starts like further out in the compound. Like, they did it, huh? They did breach the I guess you were talking real stuff. All right. And he starts getting dressed, puts on like dirty clothes, like a wife beater, and pulls up.
Was he naked?
He was just sitting there in his boxers and garters with a bottle of whiskey. And he tries to like put his holster on his big beard gut.
Too much.
So he just throws it aside and grabs his slug, and his like shirt is open, and his shirt underneath is all stained, his undershirt, and he just stumbles out barefoot and is like, let's just do this thing. Get the boys. Yeah.
Radio out. Yeah, going down to Sector 15. Get the boys out there.
On our way now, boss.
All right.
Are you sure you don't want any shoes, boss?
Doesn't matter. And he starts just like padding down the corridor. Like, again, we kind of have our own compound. It's like an old warehouse we've got like some fortifications. Like, it's a refinery, like like an old steel mill with also like some like old equipment rusting in the yard. And in the center, there's these vats of like faux cheese, like faux dairy, just like growing, and hooked up to all these machines are these like Moomins, these like true half cows,
true Moomins,
and like little like Mavs, like
man
calves, like padding around between them.
Disgusting.
They are more cow than human.
Exactly.
So they're like that. We just use the humanity to like
more
fill in the
bovine
holes.
than man.
So we're kind of like running through like we kind of scatter a herd of them and get over to the perimeter, and we see some of those same battle vehicles coming up over the rise.
Oh, nice.
And we like gesture in some more muscle and prepare, like a couple guys get behind a cannon, and we're
get our
shields going and start heading towards the perimeter. Yeah.
That's perfect. That's a perfect scene. Yeah, it's great. That's great. Awesome. Yeah, the cultists are coming, or someone's coming.
And again, that was like the 5-year mark.
5-year mark.
Right.
And we said this would take like a good
Yeah,
decade.
we had our facility. We were producing things.
And potentially
like
keeping threats at bay.
Yeah, keeping threats at bay and potentially genetically engineering people and cows as well. Like, we're really branched out.
Manimals.
Manimals.
I feel like I want it to be like at the 10-year mark, but I'm trying to imagine who is there. Because who is left?
Everyone except Boodle and Wally.
I mean, a suggestion, I think, like, Felicity, this would be like, because Felicity and Winston
we have
two, like, vying things.
Yeah, we have
and
a
if,
thing. Yeah.
And if you're about to roll out the product.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is it. This is sort of like that first scene writ large.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's sort of the end, right?
Like, sort of the closing scenes. This takes place in the office of
Yeah.
the
What about like a boardroom?
yeah, like
Like, yeah, super chic. Like
yeah.
this, like
Well, I'm thinking
sleek.
like Felicity because I couldn't tell if her and Winston were gonna end up together.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like she probably had to kind of like go off and do her own thing.
Mm.
I think the scene is a boardroom. She's there with some lawyers. But it's not a fancy boardroom though.
Mm-hmm.
It's like kind of like a little shitty, like
Okay.
whatever. She's sort of dowdy looking now. She's like maybe 60 years old, and she's kind of there with her lawyers, and they're sitting at the table and they're talking about how they haven't been able to make their business run right, like they're sort of like this nonprofit. They've been trying to like work with the technology to develop like this shelf stable cheese that could be distributed all over the world for like starving children who really need their dairy products, and it's just not going well. They haven't been able to be sustainable, and now there's talk of like a buyer, an investor that's wants to come in and maybe take over or like buy up part of the company to contribute to the funding. And so I think maybe that's when Winston would come in with his own lawyers, and they would be
So we have our lawyers with us in a room, and we're there together. Is that correct? And
Yeah,
we're
like
arguing
yeah.
about
Like
what?
I don't think Felicity's expecting to know that Winston would have been the buyer to take over
Oh, I
the
see. So I'm the
company.
buyer.
Yeah,
Oh, I
you're
understand.
the buyer.
Yes.
Yes, Winston is the buyer of the company.
Yes, that makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
Cool. So we sort of went our separate ways years ago and did
Yep.
our own things, but we were legally connected in some ways because we both had a stake in this cheese, as it were. But you
Yeah,
were doing
like
one thing with a nonprofit,
right.
and I
Yeah.
was doing another thing with
Yeah,
it, which was
like
very much for profit.
right.
My for profit product is called faux, like like it
Mhm.
is fake,
Uh-huh.
which means it's real. So it's sort of called FUMU. Is what a lot of people call it,
Mhm.
and so that's starting to be all the rage.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
there's like
Winston's FUMU.
a montage of like supermarket shelves.
Yeah, definitely.
And like
Definitely.
who is Winston on it? Did he ended up naming it after himself?
No. The poster child for FUMU is Wally, his brother, his young brother,
Oh.
and so it's more of an idealized sort of like Leave It to Beaver sort of esque Wally, who is sort of the illustrated mascot for FUMU. As we get there, we like put out FUMU for everybody to drink.
But there's still, just so that this is still in play,
Yeah.
Mhm.
there's actually it's actually a prohibition product.
Yeah,
Like the
Yeah.
Moomies used
Yeah.
their
yeah,
their
yeah,
political
yeah, that's
connections
right.
to make sure that like dairy
Yeah,
and especially faux dairy was like like there's a whole danger campaign. There's
Yep.
like Moomies going in with like nightsticks and like
yeah, totally.
beating
There's
up
like
store
political
owners,
violence. Yeah,
breaking like bottles of this stuff and
Yeah.
and opening fridges full of cheese and
totally.
stomping on it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
totally.
And they're calling it like for them it's sacrilege.
Yes,
And then for these politicians that they have in their pocket, it's
totally.
like dangerous.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
And going to lead to the fall of society.
So the vibe
And
is
also something about immigrants.
yeah. exactly. the movies. The vibe is like sort of like the first Jurassic Park movie, where it's like we're just getting ready to open. Everything's like right ready. Everything's new and shiny, and sort of like the campaign is ready to go. Like
Mhm.
once we get this last sort of hurdle figured out, we'll be able to distribute our product through nonprofit methods, because this is no more a for-profit product anymore. Now we're trying to just get it out there so people are into it,
Right.
and then we'll go
and
for
also
profit.
like deliver it internationally
Yeah.
so that so that you can like keep the market cornered in this prohibition era and sell it as like prohibition goods on this side, but lots of issues still.
Mhm.
It's really nice to see you, Felicity. It's been a few years. You look good.
Well, thank you. I have to say that I was surprised when the lawyers told me that you were interested in our company and maybe helping us out.
Well, I think you'll find our offer is very generous. We are very respectful of the work that you've done over the years. You have really made a difference in the lives of these people, and we want to see that work continue.
I see. Well, thank you. Yes, we have tried very hard to get this food out there. I know years ago I told you that this was important to me, that I thought that this cheese could really make a difference in the world.
And you were so right. It can. It really can. And I'm confident that Winston's Fumu will make a very positive impact across the globe.
Well, I hope that's true. I've seen some things on the news. They are really striking down on these products, and I'm just a little worried.
Well, I mean, it's any evidence that Fumu causes mutation in humans is completely unfounded. There is no such thing. Everything, all of our testing has shown that it's completely clean. We have effectively rejuvenated and resurrected cows. Think about that. Think about that.
That is.
I mean, some of them have human heads, but that's okay. They are cows. They're bovines.
I didn't know that. Is that a secret? Or does anyone else know?
Well, I just want you to know that your organization is going to be in very good hands.
All right.
That's when, and that's when like the lawyer slides the paper over.
I know, and my lawyers pick it up, and rabble.
Is that it?
That is it.
All right.
That is it.
So now this is the third challenge, and this is going to decide the entire quest. If your main character is unhappy about the path the Fellowship has taken, hold 1 red stone. If your main character actually wants the quest to fail, hold 2 red stones. Otherwise, hold no stones.
John's character wants the quest to fail. Dee's character feels like it's not going well, and my character feels like it's going great.
And as a player, do you think the Fellowship succeeded at the challenge? Hold white if yes, red if no.
Yay!
We all believe that we succeeded. White, win the challenge. What is that? What does winning the challenge mean? We fence the goods.
There is an uprising of revolutionary lactose military fighters who rise up against the cult.
And the Moomies, yeah.
Yeah, the Moomies. And so they rise up and they sort of have this civil war, and they take out the heads of this cult. So now without
Reverend Moo and his wives.
Yeah. So without that power
His
and
Moomies.
influence in the political stage, like the prohibition of these dairy products is no longer an issue.
His milkmaids, by the way.
I was going to go with moves. Milkmaids is better.
The prohibition against dairy products is removed, and now everyone is free to be able to purchase these products, do as much crazy mutant splicing of humans and cows as they like.
No holds
barred. Yeah.
All right. Now our story is done. We've completed our challenge, and we go to
Our epilogue. I
epilogue.
believe.
So the epilogue, after 3 challenges, the quest is over. We succeeded or failed, but our characters live on, some of them anyway. Each player briefly narrates their main character's life after the quest. Show us whether your character feels the quest was worth it. You may stick to just the immediate fallout of the quest, or you can go big and summarize the rest of your life. It's up to you. So who would like to start? How about, I think my guy might be a little like separate from
Yeah,
stakes.
a little bit.
So I'll kick off with Garth the Intolerant, right?
Yep.
So
I love it. I'm an intolerant.
during this period, like after sort of like things got off the ground and the Moomies, like after like the 5th year or so, that halfway through that decade,
You're the
like
head of
things-
security.
he actually kind of like separated from the group, and he actually divested his shares and gave them to Winston. And that's what
Oh.
gave Winston the leverage to take control of the company from you, like in that crucial period. That's what
Mhm.
that boardroom led to. He actually, though, like took advantage of the prohibition and the chaos of those periods and was running milk
Nice.
and running like Moomins and other like mutants like under the radar and made bank. Like he was a huge crime boss, ran a huge empire, and didn't drink milk and was known as Garth the Intolerant. And because he didn't take any shit and because he didn't drink any milk. After, as in his old age, with his old enemies destroyed and his sort of empire muted and passed on to next generations of like gangsters doing other organized crime, buying politicians, starting casinos, etc. He actually started, like, kind of moved out into the desert himself and went Howard Hughes and started a pure movement where a compound where only the genetically pure were allowed. And one of those purity markers was lactose intolerance.
Oh.
So he started a group of like mutation-free but like lactose intolerant people in the desert as this sort of like spa retreat group with like a health kick thing to it. So it's just like it's his own weird like eugenic health cult. And he eventually like passes away in his old age, just or like in his like 70s or something.
Gotcha.
He lived a hard life.
Did he ever get over that alcohol problem?
Not quite. He was still a pretty heavy drinker, so it was probably like
Cirrhosis.
Yes,
Psoriasis.
It was cirrhosis of the liver that laid him low.
For Felicity, following the events of the uprising of the militant lactose fighters, she was pretty excited because, she had always held that sort of revolutionary ideals and here comes this force that seems to be for her goals, that is taking over the world and maybe changing it for the better. But like any sort of political action after the overthrow of the lactose cult, the Muites, then a new cult, a new power takes over. And with this sort of unlimited flow of dairy products and dairy mutants, like the pure ideals of cheese for everyone sort of get lost in this capitalist goals of the world. So she kind of loses her company over to that and sort of retires, and she moves to the country and gets some
chickens.
Yeah, not any dairy animals. I don't think there's any animals left.
Yeah, I know.
But maybe she like starts a home for escaped mutants, like for rescued human cow hybrids that have escaped from their facilities, and so she like has this little
Starts
farm.
the X-Men.
She's like the PETA of the future, like
hybrid human rights kind of.
Yeah.
They're all exiles, just like Felicity.
Yep. And so that's how she lives out her life.
Nice. Winston has power. He's the CEO of one of the, if not the most powerful cheese-producing organizations and empires. Everyone's trying to imitate what his company's doing. He's sort of at the forefront. He becomes incredibly obsessed with creating new and weird cheeses. The jalapeno Havarti is his sort of like gold standard, is his chalice, if you will, his holy grail that he's trying to track down, and he is able to finally create it. He's walled himself off from the politics of the world. That doesn't matter to him. He doesn't care who's consuming his stuff, who's buying it, who's ruling what.
Who does he test his cheeses
exactly.
on? Human testing.
He does. He tests on humans. But he again, it's like he turns into like this weird like mad scientist type artist who's like just way more interested in the arts of it all, the creation, rather than what actually happens with it or what it's doing to people. But I think at the end of the day, what's really driving him to achieve this or to keep reaching for new heights is that he wants that nostalgic feeling of his brother's love and his brother's admiration, which no matter how many yes people he surrounds himself with, he cannot ever feel again. So I think he sort of dies pretty depressed, no matter how well off and powerful he is. And that, my friends, is the end.
All right. So that's our
as
story.
he follows his brother into the afterlife.
And that's it. So after that, our game is done. With that, our story ends. We will return again with a new tale to spin to dare to entertain. I was one of your players, John Holt. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Joho and on Instagram at board_ghost. And you can listen to my other podcast, or Nudie Show at nudieshow.com. And Ken, where can people find you?
Board Ghosts, you can find me, Ken Breeze, all over the internets at Berlingsbeard, BERLINGS, on Twitter, Instagram, my website. We're also on Twitch doing Wednesday night D&D streams, and I also do concierge Dungeon Master services. So if you're looking for a DM, maybe we can play some D&D together.
Awesome. D, where can people find you?
I'm D. Gailey. You can try and find me, suckers. You never will. No. Sometimes I'm on Twitter at MixNerd, MXNURD.
Sometimes you like us on Facebook.
Oh, yeah. Facebook, everybody.
You're also on Instagram.
I am on Instagram, but I don't tell people that.
So to learn more about the players
We'll
and
cut
engine
that
our
out.
story, you can visit boardghost.com or visit us on Facebook at Facebook. Search for Board Ghost. And you should find it.
Facebook Board Ghost.
I think there's only like a Board Ghost on Facebook, and that's us. So you can attempt to pierce the veil and contact us at Board Ghost World on Twitter. Shout out through the ether if you have desires we can fulfill. Please leave reviews and comments on iTunes, your preferred listening portal, and take a moment to subscribe so you don't miss out on the latest episodes. We'd like to thank Pat Couples for our theme song and interlude music. You can find more about Pat at patcouples.tumblr.com or on his band's website, hotelsandhighways.com. If you're not alone in the void, share our stories. The more they are consumed, the truer they become.